What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dolo GIM series, where we play a max GM account, wait for it, and this account right here, 416 hero, a 50 defense. The series started with 416 hero back in February 2025, just spontaneously created this account because, quite simply, I was bored on wait for it. I was already maxed with most relevant PVM gear in the game. There were still other things to do, which I eventually got around to, like becoming a Grandmaster, and obtaining even more of the niche items like from Fasani's Nightmare, from Corporeal Beast, things of that nature. But these days on that account, I'm just waiting for content to do. In the meantime, I decided to create 416 Hero and just add it to the existing GIM group, right? I play a solo GIM, and I guess now I play a Dolo GIM. And with that being said, one of the long-term goals we've had on this account is to max this account. We're currently total level 2155, and we're working on Slayer, currently sitting at 88 Slayer. We've actually been sitting at 88 for the longest time now. We took a big break away from Slayer and did countless other skills. You can see we do have a fair bit of 99s. Most recently, we've been doing rune crafting all the way up to 91, and we finally decided to go do something else and head back to Slayer. It's been a long time since we did any Slayer in general, so I kind of have to get back into the groove of things and kind of taking Slayer on a bit of a different approach than before, because this Aberrant Specters task, apparently this is the first time I've ever been in a Gnome Stronghold Slayer cave, because I unlocked the music track, and when I started killing these Aberrant Specters, I got a combat achievement, Noxious Foe. So yeah, and just before I hit record, we actually fought a superior. Unfortunately, no interesting drop though. We are on a completely brand new day now, and I'm just starting out the session with a birdhouse run, as we always do. We're currently still 93 Hunter, but we're chipping away. We're chipping away. Every run we do is 4,800 EXP, and if we do a couple of these every single day, it's going to add up. But right now, we're still working on the Aberrant Specters task. This is probably a task I'm going to finish up now, because I'm already about 2/3 of the way in, but I'm probably not going to be doing another one in the future. I think we'll be sticking to barrage tasks or interesting boss tasks that we might want to do. So as I run from Slayer task to Slayer task, and in particular when I'm skipping and just doing a very quick tutorial task, I am going to be trying to fletch these broad arrows in between the tasks, or just whenever I'm running place to place. I was supposed to be doing this throughout my rune crafting grind, and I mean, we still got 8 more levels to go till 99, but I just kind of completely forgot about that when I switched over to rune crafting, because at Zaya rune crafting, there's a lot of running involved, so there's actually plenty of time to fletch. But once again, I neglected to do that. So I'm going to start doing it now, and also I'm going to start doing it when I do go back to rune crafting at some point. We're probably not going to do 88 to 99 Slayer at one big grind here. So yeah, we're going to be changing things up periodically, but the Slayer grind has pretty much just started. So we'll be keeping at this for a while, to say the least. The Abbey Specters task is completed. Probably never again. Let's see what our next task is going to be. 165 Blue Dragon. I kind of wish I had this on wait for it. Then I'd maybe do some Vorcats, but I'm not really up to doing Vorcats on this account. This is unfortunately going to have to be a skip. Tutorial task was Cave Crawlers, and we got a Superior. Does this even give a heart chance? I have no idea. Nothing interesting there though. And our next task, let's swap the left click over. I had it swapped for when I was doing broad arrows, or purchasing them anyways. 150 Gargoyles. Now, I'm definitely going to do that task because I have a scythe and I feel like swinging it. But am I going to do the boss, or am I going to do regular Gargoyles? Let's take a look at the combat achievements for Grotesque Guardians on this account. I'm actually not sure where we're at on this. 9 out of 15. Okay, so we need 25 KC, we need 50 KC, 10 times without leaving the instance, 5 perfects in a row, 20 times without leaving, and the speedrun. You know what, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of Grotesque Guardians. I don't know if I'm going to do the entire task at Grotesque Guardians, but Definitely a little bit. Let's go gear up for that. Alright, I very quickly slapped together an inventory setup. We have our range gear as per usual, and we have our melee with the scythe with the blood moon, and I do have a Saradomin Godsword and a light bear switch just in case. Everything else is the bare necessities, you know, like the potions and the food. We are on the Arceus spellbook with Thralls and Death Charge available. So let's get to it. Bad thing about this account is that I do need a Drahman Staff still in my inventory. One day we're going to go on a huge questing binge, I guess, and do the next 40 or so quest points. Actually, less than, it's 34 quests until, oh no, we can't do math. 24 quests until we have the quest cape. Granted, every time there's an update, it feels like there's at least one new quest, so yeah. The longer we procrastinate getting the quest cape to do Lumbridge Elite, the harder it's going to become, so that's a bit unfortunate. Alright, we made it to the Slayer Tower, but before we begin, let's take a look at the collection log here. Now, we got a Granite Hammer on the collection log, and of course the Dust, which is guaranteed every single KC. Off the top of my head, I want to say this Granite Hammer was a 1 KC drop, so that was pretty spooned. And then we are missing everything else, although it's not too useful. The pet would be cool, but I honestly wish if I was to get the pet, it would be on Wait For It, because I don't have it over there just yet. Now, it's been a long time since I did Grotesque Guardians, as we are underway with our first KC now, but I do think this is the general gist of it. First things first, we have ranged Dawn here, while just kind of tanking Dust. I think we protect range for that. And once we get rid of that one, we switch to melee here. I was a little slow on that, but if you were quick enough, you should be able to get 3 scythe swings in, I think. But obviously, I was slow. You want to step back when he does that animation with the falling rocks. Oh, we forgot our Book of the Dead, so next trip, I guess we'll bring that back. So once again, step back away from the falling rocks. Now we just transitioned it out of phase 1 already. Right here, we're going to steer clear of these orange and purple glowy hole thingies, and then we're going to swap to range here, stand in melee range, and DPS the boss Dawn once again. Now there are these purple orbs here. This is kind of a DPS check. If you think you lack the DPS, then you probably want to just click on the orbs to get rid of them. Because if the orbs charge up and reach the boss, it's just going to heal the boss again, which is not great to say the least. If you're in good gear though, more times than not, you can actually phase it out of P2 here before that is even an issue. But yeah, it's always range first and then melee second. I think these days with the Noxious Halberd, you can actually just melee everything if you so choose, but I'm not sure if I can actually use the Noxious Halberd on this account with my account restrictions. For this final phase here, it's either going to melee or range you, and it's kind of like at the Chambers of Xerxes, the Ohm Plate. If it ranges you, just protect range again, as it's more likely to range after a range attack, and more likely to melee after a melee attack. But that is our first KC, so we start at 22, so in order to get that 10 KC combat task, we're going to need to get up to 33. I did bring the Saradomin Godsword, as I said, in hopes to get better sustain here, and we also do have blowpipe specs available. And of course, the boss itself is going to drop some supplies, so that's going to be good. I think I'm pretty confident in being able to get the 10 KC trip. The 20 one is, however, a different story. We might have to go out of our way for that one. And I do have Auto Retaliate on, not something you want when you're bossing, honestly, so I'm going to turn that off. Alright, we are only working on our 3rd KC right now, and we are taking heavy damage. I wouldn't even say I've made any mistakes, it's just a result of being 50 defense, which is always something I underestimate, I suppose. Like, I always think things are going to go better than expected, but here I am getting slapped around. You can see how hard I just got hit right there. And also, we're hitting the wrong boss. So, in me saying we were making no mistakes, there's some mistakes right there. That would happen as I hit the record button, classic, and the boss is going to heal a little bit there, that's unfortunate. Well, I'm not so confident in the 10 KC trip anymore, to say the least. Well, just like that, we got the 25 KC combat achievement, Grotesque Guardians Adept, so that was a free one. But yeah, that was only 3 KCs in, and we are getting slapped around. We have 1 piece of bluefin in our inventory, and the Saradomin Godsword honestly has not really been hitting, so That's unfortunate. When it comes to the 50 defense account, I feel like I have a tendency to underestimate just how difficult things might be. I always think it's like, surely it can't be that bad. It's not like I'm a 1 defense account in which I quite literally have no defense. 50 defense is pretty rough in certain situations. And so we had to bank after 3 KC. Don't worry, this time around I did bring my Book of the Dead, but also change of expectations, change of plans, and how that we know we're getting slapped around by Grotesque Guardians. I'm just going to worry about the KC combat task for now, and then we'll worry about everything else at a later date. I'm not exactly hunting for combat achievements at this time. I just thought it'd be nice to pick them up since I had the task, but yeah, we're going to go for 50 KC, and for the remainder of the task, we'll just do regular gargoyles, which is a good bit of GP as well. And when we're not doing the boss, we do have a chance at superiors, which is a chance for another saturated heart. Well, imbued heart that we can turn into a saturated heart, as well as the eternal ring, in which I don't have on either account. This second trip is going much better, although 10 KC trips are still a bit of a stretch without just drastically going out of our way for it with like bruised in our inventory and whatnot. These are drops by the boss, by the way. I didn't bring those in. Let's see what we get here. Death Runes, Granite Dust, and Mushroom Potatoes. We are a little low on prayer, but the bluefins do give me some back, and of course the Ceridome and God Sword. So I'm going to go ahead and attempt another KC here. In the meantime, let's talk about, well, what we're actually here for, because obviously we took a look at the combat achievements, and we did take a look at the collection log, and we only have 1 item. But to be honest, we don't really need anything here. The core is used to upgrade the boots, ultimately through various steps into the Echo boots at the Coliseum. I believe it's like Guardian boots and the Echo boots or something to that nature, but being 50 defense, that is no use for us on this account. Besides, I do have dupes of those already, I do believe, sitting on Wait For It's, or in Wait For It's bank. So yeah, really, combat achievements here for a little bit of fun, because this boss is pretty interesting to do in small doses. I don't know about a long-term grind though. This is a pet that I've always wanted, but the boss is just not quite that interesting, and neither are the drops, unfortunately. It is supposed to be somewhat of a mid-game boss though, so I do understand. Bit of a time skip. We went ahead and did some raiding, a little bit of TOA, a little bit of TOB, but seeing that there are no clips, unfortunately we didn't get anything interesting. But we're back at Grotesque Guardians, 1 trip in, up to 44 KC, so 6 more to go until the next KC combat achievement at 50. Now, on that last trip, as I teleported out, I thought about this. I'm currently wearing the Blood Moon gear, but I do have Inquisitors. For 16 hero, being 50 defense, can wear Inquisitors. That requirement is 30 for that set of armor. And I looked into the Grotesque Guardians bosses, specifically the Dusk, which is the one you melee, and apparently they just have no specific weakness, apart from an Earth Elemental weakness. But I don't think anybody is out here maging these Grotesque Guardian bosses, so it looks like Scythe on Slash in my Blood Moon marginally, very marginally, is better than Inquisitors on Crush. So I started a conversation about Grotesque Guardians in the clan chat, and some people brought up the Noxious Halberd, which I touched on earlier in the video, earlier in the grind. And for some reason at the time, I just misremembered what the Noxious Halberd attack styles and the options are. So it turns out the default slash, which is normally what you want to use for a weapon like that, is strength EXP, and then the stab option is going to give you either defense EXP or shared. That's what I was concerned about. But yeah, I don't know why I forgot about it, because I do frequently use a Crystal Halberd in Theater of Blood, and I should have known that, but yeah, that just slipped my mind. So it turns out I can use a Noxious Halberd, but I think I'm going to keep using the Scythe and the Blowpipe. I'm having a little bit more fun than this. You know, the little gear switching is more engaging than just camping one set of armor and weapons. Although, that might be the solution. Oh, I'm dead. I think I'm dead. Oh, 1 HP! Okay, as I was saying, very fortunate to get away there. That might be the solution to my 10kc trip problem, actually. If I just bring only melee with the Noxious Halberd, I have way more inventory for supplies. I don't know. I'm not too concerned with it right now, though. I'm just going to knock out another 3kc here, and then we'll farm up some regular gargoyles. I feel as though this shortcut outside the Slayer Tower is new. It gets me straight to the entrance of the Grotesque Guardians. When was that there? Has that always been there? We are now working on KC number 50, and as I said, we're going to be out of here and just farming the regular gargoyles after this. Let's see if we can get a drop. I don't know if I've showcased it to you guys, but you can see right here as I'm protecting range, it's still doing significant chip damage to me. And honestly, it's just 50-50, whether it melees or melees. And very luckily that time, actually, it only ranged the entire time. But we still took a ton of damage. But nevertheless, there we go. Grotesque Guardians Veteran. That is 4 combat points. That is an elite task. And, you know, speaking of the dies, look, you have rewards to collect. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. I think I'm currently sitting on mediums, but I think I achieved hards quite some time ago. So you know what? Let's pick up our loot here. What do I actually want out of this? I do want the granite dust. And then let's go claim our rewards actually. Wow, I'm so accustomed to the max cape. I was actually looking for the Warriors Guild TP on my construction cape, thinking it was a max cape, but that's not the case. Okay, Warriors Guild combat bracelet, there it is. And I actually have no idea what rewards you get out of the hard tier. So let's find out. I think I've completed a combat tier. Okay, so obviously the EXP lamp, Gommel's Hilt 3. Easier time obtaining hard clues. Okay, I'm not really too interested in that. Have increased max quantities offered when you're given boss slayer tasks. That could be potentially interesting. Fewer God Wars KC for entrance, of course. More common ecumenical keys. I think that's the case for every tier. The higher tier you are, the more common they are. And discounts on imbues at Nightmare Zone. Okay. And of course, pest control. I was hoping to read something about Slayer and superior monsters, but that's going to be the next tier, I think. At Elite, superiors are going to be more common. And as you know, on 416 Hero, all our lamps have been going into Slayer, so we're only going to continue that trend. 15,000 EXP right there, only 130k to go till 89. We're getting into the 90s here, or approaching it, and bossing gets a lot more interesting with Slayer. There's like Araxor, Cerberus. To be honest, there's no reason to do Cerberus other than for the combat achievements, because being 50 defense, we can't even use the boots there. I do have dupes of those too, well, except the Eternals. But yeah, some of those bosses purely might just be a combat achievement perspective, but Araxor, I am looking forward to that because you can see I'm actually wearing an Amulet of Torture. So as I stated earlier, I would be doing the rest of the task on the regular gargoyles. But before I do that, let me go pick up my magic cape because I am now 99 magic, right? No spellbook swap altar in the POH just yet, so this is perfect timing. I'm going to go ahead and purchase the cape now. And then I'll be able to swap from Arceus to Standard, which is going to be good for regular gargoyles because they do drop a lot of alkables. Now, am I wrong? Is this not where? Oh, wrong person. You know, let's talk to the person with the magic cape. That would make sense. There we go. Magic cape purchased. Let's put it on real quick. The hood as well. Might as well. And let's use it right away. We're going to swap it to Standard. Just because you hit 99 magic and get the cape doesn't mean you shouldn't build the altar out, because it does limit you to 5 spellbook swaps a day, which for the most part is enough, but sometimes depending on the activities, the Slayer tasks you get, you might find yourself switching a lot more often than that. But let's head back to the Slayer Tower. This time we're going to head into the basement where it's on task only, and let's start farming up. I am wearing Inquisitors because I do believe the regular gargoyles do have a crush weakness, which is why I found it interesting that the boss doesn't. Kind of weird, but anyways, I am making use of the Inquisitors, which is nice. It's always nice to be able to use his armor because it's so niche, but I also do have a prayer gear swap. I think what I'm going to do first is actually wear the prayer gear and just protect melee until it runs out. And I did bring a little bit of food with me so that I can tank with the Inquisitors without any overheads on. And then I have the prayer potion just in case a superior spawns. But yeah, let's get to it. Looks like there's a couple of people down here. And for those people familiar with the series, you guys know that I do have an Inquisitor's Mace, but the Scythe is probably better, right? And it's more fun to use, if anything else. I know Scythe charges, but honestly, I don't mind using the Scythe. I don't mind charging the Scythe. The Shadow is a bit of a different story with the Chaos Runes because it's very expensive. But I mean, I still use the Shadow whenever it's the best in slot. You know, I kind of don't shy away from that. Upkeep, I feel like playing Ironman, I just accepted that upkeep is something I have to do, and I'm perfectly okay with it. And on that note, that's why the Twisted Bow is so good. The Twisted Bow is good for a variety of reasons. It's very versatile, but it's also very cheap to use. Amethyst arrows are so easy to make. And even if you didn't have the mining, crafting, fletching level for that, I mean, just use some rune arrows. It's not ideal, but like getting your hands on a Twisted Bow as the first mega rare is probably the best case scenario for Ironman, honestly, in my opinion. It didn't take too long. We got our hands on a superior, or our eyes on a superior. We got our scythe on it. Let's see if we can get a drop. Let's turn our offensive prayers on, and let's SGS spec it for good measure too. You do have to protect range and occasionally dodge the orb that comes at you. That's really the only dangerous thing about the marble gargoyles. You do need prayer. Other than that, you know, very easy to react to the orb. Same mechanic in the boss version, actually, so nice and easy. What do we get? Imagine... Well, that's not what we imagined at all. It is Birdhouse O'Clock. We've wrapped up the Gargoyles task. It was pretty enjoyable, but I'm hoping for a Barrage task now. Wouldn't mind Greater Demons either. Metal Dragons. This is going to have to be a skip, I think. Don't want to do any Metal Dragons right now. Alright, Curadel, give me something good here. Gargoyles again. You know, I don't mind the task. I'm going to go do that again. Just missed the collection log pop-up because I just was not ready for this at all. Granite Mall at Gargoyles. I completely forgot about that, honestly. On this account, we're probably going to be getting a lot of combat achievements and a lot of collection logs just off of like random Slayer mobs. Especially if we continue to do things that we conventionally didn't. I think for the most part, Barrage tasks, we've already had that covered, but yeah, I guess I haven't done too many Gargoyles on this account. Another Gargoyles task completed. Let's see what our next thing... Dude, the game is trolling me. I don't know if this is confirmation bias, but it feels like Slayer Masters have a tendency to give you the same tasks consecutively. So we've seen 2 Gargoyles tasks already, and this is our second Metal Dragons task that we want to skip. The first task we ever did was the Aberrant Spectres, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that again. We'll check in on what our next Slayer task is after this, but I decided to pot some TOA. Unfortunately, there was no purple. 188 Dagonoths. It's not a Barrage task, but I'm going to trade myself the Venator bow off of the other account, and we can go ahead and do this one pretty easily. Closer to the end of this task than the beginning, not much has gone on. I have picked up a Dark Totem top, though. No Ancient Shards, unfortunately, which is actually important for us because we are missing charges for the Ember Light. And our next task is going to be Spiritual Creatures. Yeah. That's a skip. Another day, another birdhouse run, fletching as we go, and our next Slayer task is gonna be Dust Devils. So let's go ahead and hit the bank real quick, and then swap to Ancients, and let's get to doing this task. Dust Devils is another fantastic task to do. This is located in the Catacombs of Karend. It's a Barrage task. You can get lots of EXP and actually lots of GP pretty quickly. So honestly, it'd probably be better served if I used Bracelet of Slaughters, but what am I currently wearing? Barrows gloves. You know, why am I wearing Barrows gloves? I should really get my Confliction gauntlets. I'm going to do this set of Dust Devils and I'll go bank for that. I completely forgot about that, but I do think I have everything else covered. I got my Kodai that I traded off of I am on 416 Hero. I traded off a wait for it. For normal unrestricted Ironman out there, this will be a great time to bring a Bone Crusher as well. And when you have a Bone Crusher, you pretty much don't need any prayer potions here. I do have the Tumican Shadow in my inventory as well, just in case we get a superior, so we don't have to barrage the superior, because that could take quite a while. But yeah, lots of runes, lots of alcohols, lots of just straight coins as well, so plus 6,000 coins right there. Look, air battle staff right away. Okay, but before I stay around too long, let me go grab my confliction gauntlets. As I was saying, I might want to use some Bracelet of Slaughters, but at the same time, I can't be bothered to go make them right now because I know I'm like pretty much out of them. So yeah, you know, when it comes to Bracelet of Slaughters or the other thing, what's the other thing called? The Expeditious Bracelets. When it comes to using them, it's really a matter of preference. There's certain tasks that, you know, you want to stay on longer for better superior rates or better EXP, and other tasks you might want to stay on longer for GP reasons. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's some tasks that you're not quite willing to skip and you want to do, but at the same time you just want to get it done quicker. Actually, the Expeditious Bracelets are probably really useful for when you're doing those Turiel tasks. This did not take very long at all. This is going to be the last batch of Dust Devils. Unfortunately, on this task, unless we get it right here, we have not seen a single superior, but we have made a good bit of GP, a lot of alcohols, a lot of runes, so I'll be taking that. Let's go see what our next task is going to be. We're heading back to the Slayer Tower for our next task, because the task is, once again, I believe for the third time in this video, a Gargoyles task. Only 149 of them, though. I don't think I have it extended, I don't think. And I'm actually going up top here because I find more times than not this top area is actually less packed than the Slayer only area. So most people wouldn't even consider this because, well, the thing I'm about to talk about is Partner Slayer. Now, Partner Slayer was a thing a long time ago, but then they also disabled it for a really long time because I guess there were like some bugs or something, and maybe people were abusing it a certain way that they didn't intend for it to be used. So they disabled it for a super long time, but they've since brought it back and it's been back out for a while now. But I never really hear anything about Partner Slayer. But as a GIM, it could be relevant, especially as a Dolo GIM. I don't know, maybe it could be put to good use. I need to do some research on how that works exactly, because I have no idea. 66 gargoyles left on task. I'm going to go ahead and do a birdhouse run anyways, as I needed to teleport out to get more divine super combats. Honestly, for those that don't know, being potted up constantly, whether it's a ranging pot or a super combat or a super set, is very important. Your stats are more important than gear, honestly. Obviously, gear in itself is important, but the stats really come first. It doesn't matter if you have super good gear and then your stats kind of suck, which is actually kind of the situation we have on this account, being 50 defense. Offensive prayers are huge as well. Like, no access to piety really nerfs this account. Honestly, that is more of a struggle than the actual 50 defense in itself. Alright, a couple of KCs back on this trip. We get our first superior. Can this be an imbued heart drop? We'll go ahead and put our Inquisitors on. Yeah, the strategy is to pray range, but we're also getting slapped by the melees. Remember when I said 50 defense really wasn't that much of an issue in itself? It appears it is in this situation. You know, 10,000 coins, 25 gold bars. After that Gargoyles task, we now pick up a Greater Demons task, which is actually fantastic news. I've touched on this before, but we need to go back to Tormented Demons because, for one thing, overall between the two accounts, we're still missing 3 synapses. And I did originally have an Emberlight on this account, but I was very focused on Radiant Oathplate, Doom, and things of that nature on Wait For It. And so I decided to break down the Emberlight and trade the synapse over to Wait For It. So that leaves this account with 0 synapses and not even an Emberlight. I have to go get my Arclight back, and I actually lack Ancient Shards right now, as I mentioned earlier. So I think what I'm going to do is farm the Tormented Demons with... I think the Twisted Bow is better than the Scorching Bow, if I'm not mistaken, so I'll probably use the Purging Staff as my other attack style. So we're getting prepared for this task. We're going to smith a Purging Staff, which requires an iron bar and a battle staff, and of course the Tormented Synapse. There we go, we have the Purging Staff. I have most of my range gear equipped already. We're going to swap out these Barrows gloves for Zairite Van braces that are available in the magic box that is the group storage. And then for our ring, I might actually wear a light bear. I'll probably bring some sort of spec weapon. Probably the Seer Doman Godsword, which is also not on this account. So we'll get that in a second, but let's sort out our mage gear. We're going to wear our Blue Moon gear, the occult, obviously. And where's our mage's book? There's our mage's book. And we need our confliction gauntlets. This account's bank is an absolute mess. Okay, after a bit of rummaging, this is what our setup officially looks like. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything, but we have the Blood Moon, or the Blue Moon, I should say, with our mage gear on. And then our range gear in our inventory with the Saturated Heart and Divine Ranging Potion being our combat boosts. Some prayer potions, and then of course Karambans, in which actually I'm going to swap out these Karambans for Bluefins instead, because they do give a little bit of prayer back. Our spec weapon of choice is going to be the Saradomin Godsword, because that's going to give us a little bit of sustain for health and prayer as well. Plus, all Moon's gear, even though Blue Moon is the mage set and Eclipse is the range set, they do have a little bit of melee strength. As you can see here, the Eclipse Moon set is +1 melee strength over the Blue Moon. Bit of a time jump here, but that's going to have to do it for now. I didn't get started on the Tormented Demons task quite yet, as well I decided to do some TOA instead. And being that there's no TOA clips, unfortunately we just didn't get anything. So maybe we're due for a purple soon. But until then, I'll catch you guys on the next one.